Hello, EDCI 704 candidates. Dr. Palermo with your week 2 instructional video. It's going to look like there's a lot less content and a lot less for you to do here this week, but that would be a mistake. I do know that as I'm recording this, we're coming up on Memorial Day weekend, and many of you have a well-deserved 3-day break. I hope you're zooming in and picking up on the video after the Memorial Day weekend. I hope you've enjoyed time with family and friends, and we're going to cook some burgers and doggies and have some family over. So I hope you will too. And I know that most of you are teaching like crazy or testing like crazy in your schools. There's just a few more days with most students on the traditional calendar, and you're probably running around like your hair's on fire. I remember those days, but I hope that while you're proctoring EOGs or EOCs, I hope that you're able to think about research and think about the content here for 704 some. And if you can get away with reading while you're testing, go for it. But what I'm doing here in these first couple of weeks, you had all of the content last week and a bunch of discussion board posts. And oh, by the way, a shout out to Shireen, I hope I'm saying that right, Ms. Gamble. You're right on with the qual-quan description that you loaded for chapter 1 for Erdan in the discussion board post. That was a great description of the difference between qualitative and quantitative approaches and methods in research. Now, as you're learning statistics and as you're learning the different approaches that you might take in your dissertation, don't get bogged down with that stuff, but really do try to apply it to real worlds. You may, as part of your teaching, maybe you teach box and whisker plots. Maybe you teach mean, median, and mode. If so, then you're familiar with some of the language and some of the terminology here. But again, think about how you're going to apply this stuff. And I will tell you up front, the reason that Dr. Greer and I are splitting this course is that I'm the qual guy. I did a qualitative dissertation. I used a survey, but I use strictly descriptive statistics, charts and graphs, and measures of central tendency. I used frequency tables, and a deviation from the mean was as far as I went into a statistical analysis of my qualitative results. Now, as a result, some folks would say that I didn't have a true scientific study, and that's correct. And you could also say that I would not be able to reliably, with validity, I probably could not infer inferential statistics. I could not infer from my sample population, which was about 30 assistant principals in a mentoring program I was studying. I could not infer that, the results that I found with my small sample of the population to a larger population of assistant principals, either in my district or in the state of the nation. So perhaps, and in some folks, some researchers' mind, that means that I did not have as robust, as strong results from my study. And if that's the case, then I would argue that still the words and the responses on the surveys from those assistant principals going through the mentoring program, I believe that was still significant. Okay, so I reached results and conclusions described in descriptive statistics, charts, graphs, histograms, my results, but I was not testing a hypothesis. I was not studying different dependent and independent variables. I was not drawing statistical significance in terms of correlation. None of those things. And that was a qualitative approach. You might do a case study. You might do a phenomenology. You might, anyway, be thinking as you're studying and learning the vocabulary of statistics, the difference between a qualitative and a quantitative approach. In a quantitative approach, as Dr. Greer will explain in much greater detail and better than I could, you're trying to prove or disprove an hypothesis, usually stated as a null hypothesis, that there's no connection between independent variable A and variable B. So, you know, if you're going down this road and trying to say that when students take a year-long algebra course instead of a semester algebra course, that test scores are better or different, or if you want to try to prove something with numbers, you're going to take a quantitative approach, not a qualitative. And do get those big ideas straight in your head right now. Now, I'm going to introduce the qualitative methodology and spend some time in our first face-to-face meeting on qualitative approaches, June 9th and 10th. So I've moved some of the content from week 2 and week 3 into this face-to-face folder over here on the left-hand side of your toolbar. And some of the stuff from 2 and 3, we're going to do in class. So if you see a week 2 discussion or dialogue post that's not here in the week 2 content, don't do it yet. Wait till the June 9th and 10th, and you're not going to be late on that. Don't worry about it. But there's a bunch of reading here anyway. Do read this, well, do look at the PowerPoint on Deming and continuous improvement. I'm going to give you a quick interview on that stuff, overview on that stuff when we get together June 9th, but take a look at the Deming PowerPoint, please. Open the qualitative methods folder over in the resources and do skim that stuff. But I'm going to show you the big chill segment. We're going to look at that as qualitative research and do an activity with it. So take a look at it, but don't do any of that stuff just yet. Do view the program evaluation folder, and do please spend an hour. You probably can fast forward through some of this stuff, but I think this is a great webinar that will be worth your time if you take a look, please. So do take a look at this webinar, this one right here. And it is in the field of health, but it shows you exactly how to fill out and complete the paperwork that you need to for your PEB. It's a great introduction to the PEB. Dr. Brown pulled many of the same, much of the same language for your program evaluation plan from these planning documents. Take a look at it, please. Planning sheet, not so much. I will have planning documents that we'll use when we are together again on June 9th and 10th. But do look at that webinar, please. That's right here. And then do respond. What are some of your thoughts about the PE folder and the documents and the resources that are there? What can you use? As far as Erdan and statistics this week, you are reading chapters 2 and 3, measures of central tendency. Again, that's mean, median, and mode. Generally speaking, you want, in this case, to be able to infer from a sample some sort of significant statement about the larger population. Know about bell curves, please. Know about standard deviation. Know where to come back to this stuff if you have questions about it later. And if you're doing a quantitative approach, then you will need to really understand ordinal and nominal variables and ratio and interval distributions and ranges. So the language is important, and you, again, will use more of these statistics if you're taking a quantitative approach, but understanding at least mean, median, and mode, central tendency, bell curves, deviation from the mean, significance. These are terms that you need to know either way, just so you can decide whether you're taking a quantitative or qualitative approach in your research. Okay, so think about how you're applying that, and I'll be able to advise you about the qualitative approaches. This week, read, Respond to the PE webinar, please. And then I'm going to ask, even though it's loaded up here in the course content in week 5, I'm going to ask you to bring a draft CNA-B to June, our meeting on June 9th and 10th. What? That's 2 weeks away, Dr. Palermo. I can't do that. You've completed a CNA-A, that is a comprehensive needs assessment for your school. Now you're to do it for a district. And there can be different definitions of a district, and I've probably said to some of you that that could be a feeder pattern, elementary, middle, and high school, a series of high schools together that you're comparing. But if you are working a small district, and anything smaller than Wake or Charlotte Meck or Cumberland is a small district with a couple of high schools, several middle schools, a half a dozen elementary schools. If it's a district of 12 or 15 schools, the district is what I would recommend for the focus for your CNA-B. Why? Because there's lots of data available to you readily as a district. DPI and schools.com and lots of people gather and already aggregate data, both demographic data, student achievement data, discipline data, lots of data. The school report card will have lots of data by district. You can readily access much of it online, and that's what I'd recommend for your CNA-B. So you look at your district, please decide right away what your district is going to be and get started on those CNA-Bs. If you're panicking and don't know how to start, please shoot me an email and I will guide you. But June 9th, I would love to see some draft CNA-Bs. If you're able to do that, you'll quickly be able to move on to the PE-B and bang that out, and then get started on this PLP-A. 3 evidences this summer is a lot, and don't hesitate, please. Again, I've already acknowledged that you're busy campers and your hair's on fire at school, but find some time for graduate work, please, and get started on that CNA-B. I won't ask you to share PEs with me on June 9th and 10th, but get started on that CNA-B, please, and then you'll be, again, on track and able to chew this elephant one bite at a time. Erdan. Oh, where does this little book fit in? You should have read chapters 1, 2, 3 already, and I think you're asked to read chapters 4 and 5 this week. Yeah. I recommended this book, and I really do like it a lot. It helped me as a leader in a school, as a principal, but it would definitely help teacher leaders like yourselves how to actually use data with groups in schools. Some of you are ahead of the curve on this, and your districts and your schools are really proficient at using data and analyzing data in PLCs or data teams or whatever you call them. If you're reading Erdan, if you're reading Cresswell, that's heavy stuff. Save this for bedtime reading. That's my suggestion. Keep this on the nightstand and read a few pages before you nod off at night, midnight, 1 o'clock, whenever you're able to do that. And then you should be framing some questions. What I'd like you to do is bring some questions from chapters 1, 2, 3 to our face-to-face meeting on June 9th. Again, we will do that as an in-class activity. I've taken it out of Blackboard for now, but do read this book. I found it inspirational. I hope that you will too. And again, many of you are already doing this kind of good work in school, so that's terrific. Read, write, be thinking about qual and quan. Watch this webinar, please. Maybe you can multitask that while you're washing the dishes or something, but get her done. Respond, please, about the PE. Respond a little bit about the statistics, and then I'll save some of these other discussion posts for our face-to-face meeting on June 9th and 10th. Can't wait. Thank you. That's all for week deuce.